Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, sneak peek number 1 is here for the December update, which means another round of getting extremely excited for what we could potentially be getting in the month of December, only to be disappointed when we don't get everything that we hope for. You know, I know a couple of you guys out there are still holding out hope that we could get a tier 4 Black Panther, Synergy uniform for Shuri, M'Baku getting an awakened skill, Okoye get added to the game with uniform and all that stuff. But listen, man, at this point, it's just a dollar and a dream. You're just hoping, and hope is never a strategy in my opinion. So I'm gonna just move on and leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Polaris is actually getting added to Marvel Future Fight, and I gotta say, it's about damn time. She's one of the most requested characters of all time. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully this has big implication for a couple other characters that are tied to her in the game currently, and that could be coming in this very update. We'll talk about it. So the message here reads, greetings agents, this is CM Fragment of Marvel Future Fight. This superhero with a storied past and lineage manipulates magnetic forces to keep her enemies in check. Keep in mind that you're saying superhero here. Polaris toes the line. She could easily be at any point a hero or a villain, but this iteration of her is going to be a superhero. She has a checkered past for sure, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they deal with her in this update. How strong is she going to be comparatively to Magneto at tier 3 in whatever uniform they give him? Because let's be real, you cannot add the daughter of Magneto to this game without touching Magneto, and there's a couple ways that they can monetize Magneto currently to make big bucks. So we'll talk about that. So it says right here, check out the abilities of this superhero. So they're doubling down with her being a superhero who would join Marvel Future Fight. Now keep in mind that Polaris, like I said at the beginning of this video, is a very popular character. I believe in a poll that we did, she was highly ranked as one of the characters people really wanted to see in this game. And mutants are usually very hard to attain, so more than likely she's going to be added to the game similar to Nightcrawler and X-23, where you could possibly get their biometrics or X genes from the crafting lab, or she's going to be added to the game as a straight up playwall character, and then you're going to have to spend money for her, or they could be generous enough to put her in the future pass that will be coming next week when this update goes live. So I'm curious to see which avenue they're going to take with her, but who knows, they could do her like Dakin and put a mission in the game somewhere where you can farm her bio slowly over time. I don't see it because right now I don't think we're going to be getting an epic quest. However, we haven't gotten an epic quest this year based on my memory, so we might be due for one. I personally don't care for any more epic quests. They're basically just a giant checklist, and I have enough of that already. So let's talk about Polaris, because if you're not an avid comic reader, you probably are wondering, wait a second, who is this female Magneto? Because that's essentially what she is. Anything that Magneto can do for the most part, Polaris can do about 70% of that, because Magneto is old as dust. So he has a lot more experience and he's able to tap into more of his powers. However, Polaris is no slouch. She can do a lot of the things, like I said, that Magneto can do, but she can also do some stuff like energy absorption, kind of like Bishop, where if you fire an energy beam at her, she can actually absorb that energy and power herself up further. So that's actually a really cool ability on her part, and she can do kind of like blood bending. If you've ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, where we found out that Katara under the full moon can actually bend the blood in people's body, essentially killing them if she so wishes, Polaris can actually do something similar to that by controlling the iron in your blood. She can essentially render you unconscious, and if she really wanted to, she can just reverse the flow of your blood, essentially killing you. Same thing Magneto can do. So, and she can even do this over a large radius with multiple people at a time. So she is no slouch. I am definitely looking forward to seeing how she gets added to the game. However, I like to talk about these characters' origin when they're not featured in a lot of comic runs, because I know not every single one of you guys know who she is, because she hasn't been in any movies recently that I know of anyways, or TV shows. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of her backstory. Now let me just start off by saying Polaris has been around for about 60 years. I believe she was introduced in October of 1968. So multiple decades, this is not a new character by any means. However, with that being said, let's jump into it. This lady on the left hand side here, her name is Susanna Dane. The guy on the left hand side, his name is Arnold Dane. They're married. It was originally believed that Polaris, as a child here, was fathered by this man, Arnold Dane, and his wife, Susanna Dane, because Lorna, aka Polaris, last name is Dane. However, we found out that was not the case. Magneto was a sneaky savage and actually slid in and gave this lady the mighty D. She wanted to know what it felt like to be with a god. She wanted to know what it was like to be with an alpha male. So legend says that this is the face she made when Magneto hit her with the mighty D. And I'm not talking about the CTP of destruction. I'm talking about the mighty D from an alpha male. And she took the baby back to be raised by this beta male. This is why I always tell men to DNA test their kids. But anyways, this man wears no sucker. He actually figured out that this was not his child, as you can see in the conversation here that they're having on this fateful day, which is kind of the reason why they died. But let's check it out. It says, "I'm sorry I couldn't keep you satisfied," indicating that he knows that Magneto been sliding in and piping out his wife. They're pilots, by the way, and they're in the sky flying. The wife responds, "You know what? Maybe you should push me out, because you know when women get caught cheating, they're gonna try and deflect back at you, right?" So she said, "You know what? Maybe you should push me out here so I don't have to listen to any more. Listen, you cheated on this man. You were married." Polaris, tired of the fighting, wakes up from a little nappy nap in the back seat here and says, "Stop fighting." Susanna responds, "Oh great, you woke up Lorna." To which Arno responds, "Hey, you were the one screaming," which is a very valid point. If you look at the image, he's clearly yelling at a higher volume than my guy here, but he was definitely yelling too, and rightfully so. If you find out your girl cheat on you and give you a whole ass baby that's not yours to raise, oh hell no. But anyways, moving on. She says, stop fighting," to which Arno responds, "Will you shut that little brat of yours up?" Because he's like, "Listen, this ain't my kid no more. This is your kid." Susanna responds, "Be quiet, Lorna. Just shut up and go back to my presumed sleep." At this point, something unimaginable happened. The awakening of Polaris, because if you take a look right here, you'll see that she currently has dark brown hair. But Polaris, as we know and love her, has bright green hair and bright green eyes. This is what triggered her mutant awakening, this fight here. After which time she actually crashes the entire plane, killing both her parents because of the magnetic force she was emitting from her body. Immediately after the crash, Magneto and Mastermind actually shows up. In case you guys don't know who Mastermind is, this is what he looks like. He's a character that could be introduced in this update. He's actually quite powerful. He has the ability to alter what you believe, like your perception of reality. So he alters your 5 senses. So anything you can touch, taste, smell, see, etc. And he was even able to do this to a powered up Phoenix version of Jean Grey. So this guy is no slouch. He can mess with your mind really well. And he was rolling pretty deep with Magneto back in this comic run. So we'll take a look at the dialogue right here between Magneto and Mastermind, so you can kind of see what happened to Polaris here on this fateful day. So the conversation starts off with Mastermind saying, "We're too late. Nothing can be done here." To which Magneto responds, "A pity. Susanna had so much potential beyond being the mother of my children." So Magneto was planning to bear even more children with her. Why she couldn't have? Ah, well, no sense wondering what couldn't be. Magneto, you savage, bro. You absolute savage. This woman was married, but you did not give two shits. You just pump her full of semen and give her a whole ass baby to take care of by another man. You a savage for that. Anyways, moving on, Magneto continues. "You're wrong that there's nothing to be done. Hello, child. I was drawn here by the magnetic pulse you unleash. Your power manifested far earlier than it should have. Unusual, but not unprecedented. But you're not quite ready for those abilities or the life that I have to offer you. You require a normal environment." Essentially, she is way too young to be running the streets doing savage shit with Magneto and the Brotherhood of Mutants. So because of this, Mastermind actually wiped her memories. You can see right here it says, "You won't remember you were here. You won't remember the truth of this day. With any luck, all of your memories will have been erased." And she went through her entire childhood believing that these two were actually her parents. However, later on, she was actually able to tap into her past memories, and she figured out that Magneto was her real father. This is much later on in her adolescent years, and as you can see, they're having a conversation here. Magneto being the top G is big flexing, and then we got my girl Polaris here. So I'm very curious to see what is going to happen with this package character? Is she gonna come in as a top tier DPS like Kamala Khan, or is she gonna come in as a supporting character for the mutants and Magneto? Speaking of Magneto, this is the perfect opportunity to make Magneto a force to be reckoned with. They stand to make a big bag off of Magneto's fan base because he's one of the most powerful mutants in the comics, but also one of the most popular as well. And he's a deluxe package character that costs 6,600 crystals. There's not really much of an incentive to buy him right now in the game because he's very weak outside of a leadership. However, we have a hole that needs to be filled by a blast supervillain, so Magneto could very easily fill that. Speaking of blast supervillain, I definitely believe that Polaris is going to be a blast superhero because of the fact that her skill set is very similar to Magneto, and they just straight up told us here multiple times that they plan to make her a superhero. So very interested in seeing how this flushes out. I would be very shocked if sneak peek number 2 or 3 doesn't involve Havoc, because in case you guys don't know, Havoc and Polaris are a power couple. So getting Polaris 1 means Havoc could be number 2. And I am living for it. The brother of my guy Scott Summers, man, in the building to wreak havoc. It would be truly wonderful. But that's a topic for a whole nother day. Currently, as it stands, Magneto is not being served justice. The deluxe packages have kind of lost value, and Magneto getting a tier 4 and a new uniform can make these guys so much money. So 6,600 crystals for just Magneto plus his uniform, that's another 1,000 crystals. So you're 7,000 crystals deep into one character, plus getting this guy to tier 4, that's gonna be at least $100 for most people if they've just been tier 4 in characters left and right. Or if you were waiting for tier 4 Black Panther, maybe you have materials saved up for Magneto. But why would you want Magneto? Well, you might not want him, but there's quite a few people who do want him, who do need him, who are eventually going to have to get him because of the specific requirement that he covers in Alliance Battle Legend. As you can see right here, Blast Male Supervillain. Currently, the strongest Blast Male supervillains are Iron Man in his superior Iron Man uniform, but he's only really good enough to get you about 5 million points with a CTP of Rage, maybe a little bit more with a Brilliant, but he's definitely not good enough to get you 6 million, which is what everyone wants for that chance of getting an Odin's Blessing. And then you also have Mephisto, who is only good enough for about 3 to 4 million points. So Magneto getting a tier 4 is definitely, here we go. Magneto getting a tier 4 is definitely something that we could use right now to fill that gap in Alliance Battle Legend. And we know the top ABX players are often the top spenders because they usually go in and get brilliant CTPs. They usually go in and get max Odin's Blessings, and that costs quite a lot of money. So if you have hundreds of players pumping a lot of crystals into Magneto, a bunch of materials in him for tier 4, which tier 4 materials are very expensive, they're gonna make a big bag, or at least they stand to make a big bag off of Magneto. Let's not forget, my guy just pointed out Artifact. Okay, that's another way they can monetize the great one. Okay, the superior one. Dropping Mighty D's, and I'm not talking about Mighty CTPs of Destruction. Okay, so hide your girl, hide your wives. Okay, if they're 18, they legal. And Magneto ain't played no games. Anyways, man, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching. Leave me your thoughts in the comments. Are you excited to see the superior one?